They came with nothing and built an empire in the shadows. After World War II, a new chapter of the Sicilian Mafia began, not in Sicily, but in the land of opportunity, America. The war had shifted global power, and the Mafia knew it. They followed the money, the power, and the chaos. And in America they found all three. Ellis Island was the gateway for millions. But among the dreamers came men of silence, of blood, of tradition. Men like Charles Lucky Luciano, who laid the foundation of a criminal empire from behind prison walls. Deported to Italy but never truly gone, Luciano helped broker a deal with U.S. intelligence during the war, Operation Underworld, offering Mafia help to secure American docks against Nazi sabotage. In return, protection, power, legitimacy. Back in the States, the Mafia rebranded itself, no longer just a Sicilian brotherhood. It was now Cosa Nostra, our thing, an American version of an ancient code. Led by bosses like Vito Genovese, Carlo Gambino, and Joe Bonanno, the Mafia became a silent partner in post-war prosperity. From New York to Chicago to Las Vegas, they built a web of influence, extortion, racketeering, labor unions, and of course the casinos. Las Vegas wasn't built by dreamers alone. It was built by criminals with vision. The mob financed the city's neon skyline, laundering dirty money through slot machines and showgirls. Behind every glittering jackpot was a silent tax paid to the five families. But even as they rose in wealth and power, the code of omertà, the code of silence, was sacred. Until it wasn't. From the blood-soaked alleys of Palermo to the smoke-filled back rooms of New York, behind the silence explores the rise and fall of history's most feared criminal empires. Each episode peels back the layers of lies, power, and silence, revealing the real stories behind the Mafia, the men who ruled from the shadows, and the cost of their silence. Subscribe for cinematic documentaries, untold stories, and a journey into the dark heart of organized crime. In 1957, the infamous Appalachian meeting in rural New York changed everything. More than 100 Mafia leaders from across the country gathered in secret to divide territories, settle disputes, and flex their reach. But police raided the gathering. The myth that the Mafia didn't exist shattered. The government could no longer deny it. The FBI launched its war. Under J. Edgar Hoover, agents began mapping the invisible empire, wiretaps, informants, surveillance. But for every move the FBI made, the Mafia adapted. They infiltrated politics, police departments, even Hollywood. Corruption wasn't an accident, it was a strategy. And yet cracks began to form. Joe Valachi, a soldier in the Genovese family, broke omertà in 1963. Before a Senate committee, he spilled secrets that had lived and died in whispers for decades. He named names, revealed rituals, exposed structure. For the first time, America saw the Mafia not as a myth, but as a machine. Efficient, deadly, hidden in plain sight. By the late 1960s, the Mafia was more powerful than ever, but also more vulnerable. Surveillance tightened, ambitions clashed, blood began to spill again, not just on streets, but within families. This was not the end. It was the storm before the collapse. The city never slept, not because of life, but because of fear. In the narrow streets of Palermo, shadows weren't cast by buildings. They were cast by men. Men who ruled with silence and died with screams. This was the War of the Dons. They came from the countryside, humble, brutal, and patient, led by a butcher's son, Salvatore Toto Riina. The Corleonesi weren't just another mafia clan. They were a purge waiting to happen. In the 1970s, the Mafia had already evolved, from extortion to international heroin empires. But power was split among old dons with shaky alliances. Toto Riina wanted more than a seat at the table. He wanted the table burned. He didn't speak much. He didn't need to. The corpses spoke for him. The war began in whispers. A missing man here, a bullet in the night there. Then it exploded. Stefano Bontade, shot at his birthday. Salvatore Inzerillo, tortured and butchered. Giuseppe Di Cristina, betrayed, eliminated. Old mafia families were hunted down like prey. Some fled, some begged, none survived. The Corleonesi weren't fighting for control, they were cleansing the mafia from within. Palermo became a graveyard with street lights. Cars exploded in daylight. Children walked past pools of blood on their way to school. The people stayed silent, because to speak was to die. And yet something shifted. Fear breeds anger, and anger, eventually, finds a voice. In 1982, a voice broke the silence. Tommaso Buscetta, a made man, a ghost, captured, extradited. And then he talked. He revealed the hierarchy, the names, the crimes. He didn't just betray the code. He rewrote history. "I didn't betray the Mafia," he said. "I betrayed the traitors." The Mafia retaliated with fury. General Carlo Alberto Dalla Chiesa, sent to Palermo to dismantle Cosa Nostra, was murdered with military precision. Italy had sent him without backup, without weapons, only to die. His blood was a message. We rule here. But in their arrogance, the Mafia made one mistake. They underestimated the power of the truth. Toto Riina thought he'd won. He silenced his enemies, buried the old dons, and wore the crown of terror. But in the heart of that silence, a storm was building. And next, that storm would walk into a courtroom with 1,000 pages of names, and one mission: to break Cosa Nostra from the inside.